guys sound like a really talkative group, which I love, absolutely love. So throw questions at me and stuff like that. So first of all, I'll start off with what a dietitian is. I hate that the first 4 letters spell diet because I'm not here to put people on diets. I don't put people on diets. I said that to a gentleman one time and he says, you know what's worse? The first 3 letters spell diet, and I nearly died. I just went, oh my God. So he actually, after we had a chat, said it should be called a dietitian. So yeah. So all about food, nutrition, help people either in groups, like having group talks like this. I work alongside the Neighbourhood Centre in Emerald. I am based in Emerald, but also do one-on-one. So help people who have type 1 diabetes, if they have celiac disease, if they have heart disease. Oh my gosh, the list is almost endless with anything that can be helped with nutrition. So yeah, based in Emerald. I work for 3 companies at the moment, but seeing you today under Highlands Nutrition, which is my private practice that I'm building in Emerald. So I wanted to, we were just talking about breakfast cereal. So you guys have got some good breakfast cereals here today. What do you normally eat?
Nothing. Bakery. Yeah, nothing. Bakery or nothing.
Bakery or nothing?
Cup of milk and that's it.
Cup of milk?
Nothing.
Oh, that is unhealthy. You should not be eating chocolate for breakfast, Bradley.
Sometimes I eat breakfast at night.
At night?
Yeah,
that's totally okay.
I do that too.
Nutrigrain.
That is,
Nutrigrain,
yeah. So,
Just eat it.
100 years ago, we didn't have breakfast cereals. It was an invention in the 1940s, 1950s by Kellogg's. And then the American, I don't know if you guys have ever watched any of the shows like Mad Men and stuff like that. I think it's fascinating. The advertisers grabbed a hold of it and they basically told people to start having cereal for breakfast. So whether you don't have cereal, some people like eggs and bacon. Totally okay to have eggs and bacon. Perfectly nutritious, and it's okay. Cereals are still fine, and it's okay to have that in the evening. Totally okay to have that at the end of the day. I'm very much about don't have food rules. If you want to have leftover spag bowl for breakfast, have leftover spag bowl for breakfast.
If there's leftover chocolate self-sauce pudding, I will eat that.
Oh, me too.
We'll get to chocolate.
And it doesn't even taste bad cold either, so you just...
We'll get to chocolate in a minute. But Nutrigrain, so when Steve and I were kids, Nutrigrain used to be completely sugar through the whole thing, same as Fruit Loops used to be sugar all the way through. You used to eat it in the afternoon after school out of a cup, and because it was basically like eating lollies. Nutrigrain now is perfectly nutritious because what they've done is instead of putting sugar when they make the little bricks, they actually spray the outside with sugar. So there's still a little bit of sugar in it, but it's mainly grains. So totally okay to have Nutrigrain.
Yeah.
Yeah. So not having breakfast. Why do you guys not?
I don't have an
wake up
appetite. It
and
makes me
eat,
sick to eat in the morning.
Really? You wake up and you're just not hungry.
It makes me sick. Like I don't want to put food in my mouth at all.
Like sometimes after
It is super important to have something before you start working your brains.
Yeah, that's why I just have a couple of
Our brain's primary source of energy is sugar. So sugar comes in your cereals, your grains, your pasta, your rice, your fruit, your potatoes, So, and if you starve your brains, well then it's harder to get through a school day. What's the time that you guys eat earliest? Like, if you don't have breakfast, what time do you eat? You eat breakfast? This little one, you? Sorry?
Me, I eat breakfast, but like, I eat breakfast. Do you mean when we eat?
What time do you eat breakfast?
Well, this morning I had it like 5:30.
Awesome.
Like,
Yeah.
I usually eat at like 11.
11?
That's
Like
too long.
So you've already
Yeah,
done. You've already
whenever I'm
done.
hungry.
I don't get hungry.
So what time
I
do you
eat
start
dinner
school?
on my lunch.
8:30.
8:30. And
Yeah, we wait till lunch.
I usually eat at 6:30, but with this thing I have to
Eat a bit
wake up.
earlier? Yeah. Yep. I'm not someone to eat really super early. I'm a bit like you. If I'm going to try and stomach something at 6 o'clock when I get up, no. So I tend to have something, and only like a quick oats packet, and I'll have that at 8:30 when I get to work. So I have that when I open up my laptop. So having something before you start working your brain doesn't have to be cereal. It can be a glass of milk. A glass of milk is perfectly okay. A banana is perfectly okay. If you're running out of time, a raw egg?
Yeah.
Oh, how do you do raw egg?
That's okay.
No, it's perfectly nutritious.
Yeah, last time I did that, it just went.
That's why.
No, yeah. So even like boiling up some eggs and leaving them in their shells, they can stay in their shells for as long as the shell's not cracked for about 4 days. So even just a boiled egg before you come to school or on the way to school, even a little, the yogurt pouches they have these days, they're awesome. You suck on one of those on the way to school. There is ways to have some food really quick as you get to school. It doesn't have to be 5, 6.
I just don't really get
What do you guys get from the bakery? You do have a good bakery. I'm going to check it out today.
Our bakery is
cheese and
absolutely
bacon sausage
amazing.
rolls, cheese and bacon pies, Ned pies, peas and mushroom pies, pea pies, the plain
Sausage
rolls, plain pies. You can get cakes, bloody donuts, fruit salads,
Do you
sandwiches.
live there?
We go there nearly like every
You can also, and in an afternoon, you can get a slushie.
Oh, yeah.
You probably get that in the morning too.
No, they're not ready then. They're all just liquid. And then they've got like I think it's either 4 or 5 big fridges full of drinks. So.
Yeah. Okay. We'll get to hydration in a second. So those kind of things are okay, like once a week. Every day's not great.
Well, that's my breakfast.
Definitely wasn't going to go there after this.
I'm glad.
Sure.
I've got
So-
no money, so I can't go there.
It's like an addiction.
So it does
like a
get like
daily
that,
routine.
especially when you haven't got a lot of other options.
And it's like I feel as if it's not really the food that it's addicting. It's the walk because you just talk and talk the walk.
So is it more the social?
Yeah, I think
More
so.
the social?
I'm there for the
Then
food.
once you get back to
I think it's the running across the road that gets the excitement, and then the food's just the stuff, the reward from running across the road.
from not getting killed from
Yeah.
It's like when you don't get caught.
Yeah, and the adrenaline rush from running away from Miss Bell.
Yeah.
Yeah, because after you turn that corner on that road, you're good. Yeah.
Recording.
Food is
No, it's only for grade 10s, but yeah.
Oh, the grade 10 field as well.
Yeah.
So I met an amazing dietitian who works way west here. I think she's actually down LA way now, but when I met her, she was like the border between Queensland and NT is where she worked. And her thing was food is never just food. So food is that social interaction. Food is celebration. It's weddings. It's Christmas. It's Easter and that kind of stuff. I say to people now, because I get really frustrated, hot cross buns are available on Boxing Day.
I hate hot cross buns unless they're chocolate.
Like the Cadbury's chocolate brioche ones, but I only get 1 packet a year because I think that stuff should be special again, because if you're having it every week or every other day, it's not special. That shine, the endorphin release and that means that I just think that it should be that week of Easter. So that's when I buy my chocolate brioche Cadbury's buns and I take them to work and I make sure I share them so that I only have 1 or 2, not the whole packet. So
I don't even eat my Easter chocolate. This year Duncan ate it. Last year Tess ate it.
are you one that leaves it there and just goes back and picks at it?
I don't like chocolate anymore.
Yeah. I
I
can't.
just eat it.
I don't eat a whole lot.
It takes me like a week to finish it. I just swallow it.
That's too much.
Yeah.
Just chew it.
So-
My ball at the first week.
Chocolate is still nutritious. I don't like talking about good or bad foods because they all fuel our body. They're all fuel. So with chocolate, and I sort of say also don't ban foods because as soon as you say, oh, I'm never going to have that, never going to have chocolate again, never going to have
Then you go and
pizza again, your cravings just mount up. So the psychologists call it the forbidden fruit effect. So as soon as you say you can't have something, then your drive just escalates for that thing until you have it. So don't ban foods, have them in that, I don't like the everything in moderation saying either, because you can eat one of everything and eat a lot of food. You know, if you go to the supermarket, or you guys got an IGA or a Spar out here?
2 IGA.
IGA, yeah. So you look down those aisles, if you had one of everything, you know, that's a lot of food. So it's about still having those special foods, but making sure they're special, that they, you know, they're a Friday night treat or they're a birthday treat, or that, you know, so it's not an everyday thing. What else do I want to talk? Oh, so hydration. So you guys have just exercised this morning. What did you have to drink before?
Water.
Oh, like a little bottle of water.
Water? Yeah.
Nothing.
Nothing?
Water.
Yeah.
I got watermelon. That'll hydrate me.
Watermelon is a great hydration.
I only really drink water when I have football training.
We actually should have about 8 to 10 glasses a day. So not just when we do
I have
footy
more like
training.
half a bottle a day.
I like a 1 litre Yeti bottle.
Yeah, yeah. So getting up to that 1 litre, because we need to keep our kidneys wet, basically, is the way to sort of, there's a whole pathophysiology behind it, but I won't go into that today. So yeah, need to make sure that you've got adequate hydration, because, you know, like, you can lead to headaches in the heat out here, because we have 40, 45 degree heat days. You can lead to heat stroke. So making sure that you've got that. And the other thing too is, when you are doing footy training, before you start warming up, is to start sipping on water, and then sipping through training, and then sipping afterwards as well. So that you're not, if we guzzle a whole litre of water, we can actually pull electrolytes out of our system and make ourselves more dehydrated rather than hydration. So watermelon's another good hydrator, because it's mainly sugar and water, a little bit of fibre, but watermelon's a really easily absorbed thing. Does anyone know what the liquid thing, the number 1 liquid hydration is?
Water.
Water's in the middle.
Gatorade.
Gatorade? It's a little bit higher. It's 1 up from Gatorade.
Parrot.
Milk.
Yes. Milk. Milk. So milk. So with milk, milk contains protein. So your whey protein, you know how people sometimes have whey protein shakes, which you don't really need unless you're The Rock and you're working out for 6 hours a day. If you're working out heaps, protein shakes are fine, but you've got to be working out a lot. And it's his job to work out all the time. If you're only working out an hour a day, 5 days a week, you don't really need protein shakes or pre-workouts or any of those kind of things. You just need to eat dairy, meat, fish, eggs. So hang on, getting off topic. So milk. So milk has 2 things. So protein is one. The other one is lactose. So lactose is a milk sugar. So it's a carbohydrate. So because you got the protein and carbohydrates in milk, it actually goes slower through our digestive tract than water does. So our digestive tract then has more time to get the fluid, the water out of that, and hydrate us better. Whereas if you guzzle down that litre of water, it can just flush through and you end up going to the toilet faster, and you can pee out some of your electrolytes. Does that make sense? Yeah. Yeah. It isn't always great. So if you're doing footy training, it's not always great to down some milk afterwards. Some people feel a bit blur.
Oh yeah, milk and more eggs. Yum.
Some people do.
We have the next Rocky
Like,
here.
you ever do that, Sam?
Some people do feel a bit yuck with milk.
I loved it.
So yeah, so sipping
Next-
water,
next-
Gatorade and Powerade are perfectly okay, as well. But sip it so that you're not like powering it down, and making sure that you have a drink before you start training, and then during and after. Any questions about that or training, like food and training? Yes.
Is there such thing as too much water during the day?
Yes. Yes. But you've got to get up around that 8 to 10 litres.
Ooh.
And you would be on the toilet the whole time. Yeah. So the likes of those who are out mustering, and working with cattle, they can have 6 to 8 litres a day. So and they need to, but they're sweating out half of that. So they're probably actually only peeing out the 2 to 3 litres out of it. So yeah, but for you guys, for a school, particularly if you're sitting inside, you only really want to be having that, 8 to 10 glasses. So another thing with hydration, if you're thirsty, you're already dehydrated. So the aim is to start drinking, like I said with training, drink water first.
We're not allowed to get drinks during class.
Yeah.
Can you have a water bottle in class?
Yeah.
I don't own a water bottle. Mine fell out of the truck and I forgot to pick it up, so it's like in the middle of nowhere.
Get another one.
We have
I
so
should've-
many water bottles.
I should have picked some at work and brought them in. So having that water throughout the day. Any other questions around protein and training? Because how many people play football? Or a kind of football?
I did.
Yeah? Awesome. What other sports?
Triathlon.
Yeah? What other ones?
Netball.
What other? Netball?
Volleyball.
Volleyball? Awesome.
Motorbike.
Basketball?
Running around.
You look tall enough for a basketball? I can't. I'm useless at basketball.
Running.
Running? Awesome.
Skiing. Really.
Skiing? Yeah, you've still got to have a lot of power to hold on to stay upright with skiing. Yeah.
My brother went straight under.
Straight under.
Like he sucks.
I wouldn't be able to.
Like he went up for a few seconds and then boom.
I don't have depth perception because I only have sight in one eye. I don't have depth perception, so those kind of things that's why I played hockey, because most of it's along the ground. It's only occasionally we'd come up, because basketball and netball I've been hit in the nose like 2 or 3 times because I don't get my hand in the right place.
Oh, we've done kneeboarding. I love it. But my brother was getting all scared and he hit in the face with the board.
Oh.
And he had like this cut. It was funny.
Ow. You thought it was funny. Wouldn't it be funny to him? It's just funny.
Is there any downside to having protein if you do go to the gym?
So, our bodies need protein for muscle mass, obviously. That's like your cheese, your yogurt, your milk, fish, chicken, eggs, even raw eggs. Sorry to bring that up again, everybody. Your red meat, nuts. So protein. But in Australia, we tend to eat more protein than what we need. So we tend to have, we'll have bacon and eggs for breakfast. We'll then have sausage roll for lunch or a pie, and then we'll have meat with dinner. So just about our staple, unless you're vegetarian or vegan, our staple is meat and 3 veg.
Sorry.
So so we have enough protein. We don't really need to have pre-workout and post-workout stuff. The reason I love sausages wrapped in bacon. That's so bad. I only have it very rarely. So, any excess protein that our body doesn't need, we store as fat.
Yep.
So I get a bit frustrated, particularly, or just gentlemen these days, where people go and they work out the gym 3 days a week, but then they have all their shakes and that. But I'm like, hang on, you're still eating a perfectly nutritious, meals across the week. You don't need to have that as well. Like I said, there's a difference. If you're an athlete like the Commonwealth athletes at the moment, they would actually be having additional protein because they just burn through it because they're training 6 to 10 hours a day.
Yes.
Same as with The Rock. He's working out. He gets paid to work out.
Have you seen his cheat days?
What do you mean he's better work?
I haven't seen his cheat days, so I have to look that up.
They're so good.
Yeah.
Stack of pancakes this high.
He would need that much because he's not sitting and he's definitely not a couch potato. And a lot of the time, have you seen when they're working out, they do a movie, but when they're not in front of the camera, they're actually got weights over to the side and they're still working out. So they don't stop. And for those people who are really active, whether they're roofers or plumbers or tilers or, carpenters, they do tend to need a little bit more food. But we are big storage houses. We have evolved to store everything except for excess sugar. We will pee out a little bit of excess sugar. Some of it will go into storage, some of it will get peed out. Water-soluble vitamins will get peed out, but any excess, and we will obviously poop out insoluble fibre because that's why we poo. But any extra protein will get stored. Yes.
What about creatine?
Creatine, you can get creatine from food.
Yeah, I know that.
So
If you
I
take
get
extra.
take extra. It is still an amino acid. So creatine is an amino acid, so which is the base building block of a protein. So again, if you have more than what you need, you're gonna store it. Yeah. Love the questions. Any other questions? Any other things that you guys have read on the internet or Dr. Google? I don't like Dr. Google. There's some great info there, but there's some really shit like coconut oil. Do not eat coconut oil. Do not eat coconut oil. A coconut oil is beautiful for your hair and your skin. It's wonderful.
So
It's really good as a conditioner.
For your hair, it does block it, so it's not necessarily the best for your hair. More like argan oils, maybe like that.
Yeah. I have really, as you can see, I have really fluffy hair, so I use 2 different oils on my hair. Yes.
Oh yeah, my mum, she puts coconut oil in things she makes sometimes and stuff. What's wrong
So
with
with coconut oil, now coconut oil, yes, it's from a plant, and people think it's still healthy because it's from a plant, and a lot of vegan and vegetarians have quite a bit of it in their diet, but it's still a saturated fat. So guys know what saturated fat is?
Yeah.
saturated fat is fat saturated. It's wet and milk. Wet fat.
So saturated fat is the bad fat. It's the fat in
Listen up, listen up.
it's the fat in bacon, in red meat, in all our meats. Is that saturated fat? The other bad one is trans fat. So some oils, when we cook with it, can turn to a trans fat. But yeah, so coconut, even though it comes from a plant, is a saturated fat. The reason that some people say that it's okay in our bodies is that it's a short chain fatty acid instead of a long chain fatty acid. But metabolically, it actually acts the same as a saturated fat and will put people's cholesterol up. So it's not one to eat. Use it for your hair and skin. Definitely other ones are better. I love my Moroccan oil and my argan oil.
You don't use coconut oil in your hair because it blocks it.
Yeah.
Because it hardens.
Sorry, I have more questions.
Are there any like do not eat foods that you'd say? Like
I'm not against any particular food apart from olive oil. Not olive oil. Coconut oil is one of my do not eats. Everything else having, I still eat chocolate. I still have milkshakes. I still have KFC. Well, not so much KFC because it makes my tummy turn these days. But there's no real don't eat.
Oh, do you know how good it is to get KFC after a footy game?
Oh, it is good.
It's really?
Well, this is weird. My sister eats the fat of bacon.
Oh yeah.
It's not
Oh,
great.
you're talking about blocking?
Yes.
Yeah.
No.
The texture and
I
Anywhere where you can trim the fat. So whether it's off bacon, the little white bits off chicken, the fat off chops and the fat off your steaks and that, trimming it off before you cook it. Because if you leave your fat on your steak, even though if you trim it off afterwards, that fat still cooks through the steak, and it's already got.
disgusting.
Yeah,
It's good.
yeah. So.
It's the best part of it. Yes.
And it doesn't matter so much for you guys because you're active. You're still, playing sport. You're still out and running around. You're probably burning off your sugars and your fats. But as you get older, those saturated fats will sit in our arteries. And, when you're 60 and 70, you don't want to have strokes and heart attacks and have to have stents and all those wonderful things. Yeah. So if you can avoid it, avoid it. Yeah. More questions? You guys are such a good talking group.
Is that right?
I think you guys have got about 5 minutes before you go to class. Any other burning questions?
Class.
Class?
Class? What happens at 8:30?
Oh no, we have till at 8:45. But we.
Gemma.
We do the
No, we want to go.
Last
Oh, you
question.
guys want to get to the bakery? I know. I know. Yeah. Other questions?
No questions.
Any for your competitions, etc. Do you have any questions for that? If you have any competitions, will be ideal.
I have netball
Oh,
this
there you
weekend.
go.
Oh no.
Yes,
Guys,
James.
it's 2 days.
Do you know what ATPPC is?
Oh, come on.
So your ATP is actually in your
Yeah.
mitochondrial cells, so it's how you.
For my HPE assessment,
Yeah.
I have to work out ATPPC. Is there any foods that improves your
No.
amount of ATP?
So it's just having good general nutrition. So because I'm trying to remember what it actually stands for, ATP. Oh my gosh, that's 4 years ago. All this stuff you cram in for exams and then you don't remember afterwards unless you use it every day.
That's school.
So yeah, so your main thing with your ions for transfer for ATP is your phosphate, magnesium, your electrolytes basically. So your phosphate, magnesium, sodium and chloride is making sure you have good balances of that. So making sure you don't get dehydrated and have good adequate nutrition.
Alright,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah. Alright?
Alright, guys?
Yes. You wanting to go? You don't want to ask a question?
No.
Yeah. No more questions?
No.
No more
I want to go in the West
Bakery
Indies.
night.
So how do you guys like that?
Yes.
Okay, can you put your hands